All right, let's now move on to the next segment where we get to have a quick look at what the papers have for us today. I have a copy of the Daily Nation, and just to take you through the front page, two stories have just been featured here, and both of them political, concerning the race to the August 9th presidential elections, and more so looking at the popularity between the two main presidential candidates. Again, it has been dubbed a two-man horse race, and this is one of these stories is a survey that was conducted by this particular daily, dubbed the Nation Survey, quote unquote, and it revealed that both Raila and Ruto are head-to-head in the presidential race, but neither of them has enough backing to cross the 50+1 threshold in order to win this year's election. Now, it goes on to reveal that at least 15% of voters are undecided as to whom they are going to vote for come the August elections. And the other story also is in regards to the decision concerning the running mates. And according to Azimio, they were set to unveil the running mate today, but due to the absence of the party leader within the bounds of the city, he is in Mombasa, they say they're going to push that to tomorrow. But according to what the Azimio team unveiled, that the three top or rather the favorites in the Azimio side of the divide are Kenneth and Karua. As for the Kenya Kwanza, they have been seemingly very cagey in regards to who the presidential running mate may be, but the ones that actually stand a chance are Kindiki, Waiguru, Mudavadi and Muturi come to the top of mind wherever Kenya Kwanza is involved. But the question still remains, who will be the running mate? The other stories in regards to that survey, which I'll be giving you the details as per what has been listed here. They also go on to give another survey in regards to Kenyans, saying that Kenya is headed in the wrong direction, and at least 67% of Kenyans think so, that Kenya is headed in the wrong direction, and they go ahead to give a number of reasons as per what was mostly mentioned by most people in this survey. So I will be giving you these details in just a bit. Doreen.
All right, MPs push for salaries team to raise pay after the August 9th general elections. That is what you're waking up to this morning on the PD, and what they're pushing to is to earn a close of 1.5 million. This is in the enhanced salary and allowances if proposals to the SRC get endorsement. So this came after the MPs had an informal session known as the Kamukunji, and this is at that point is where they pushed for the increase of that salary. So if at all this is passed by the SRC, then they are set to earn just as much as what the judges of the court appeal earn in terms of their salaries. So even as that is happening, there's reprieve for parties as court holds the gender rule. You can remember that IEBC had actually sent some of the parties back to the drawing board so that they could meet the 2/3 gender rule threshold, and this is out of the 84 registered political parties. Around 44 had been sent to the drawing board to see how they could meet that. But now, as it turns out, the High Court has actually issued a statement, and they've given a reprieve to parties, saying that this is unrealistic, so to speak, and again also factoring in the independent candidates, and also factoring in the fact that in some areas there were no women who vied for various positions, so ultimately they could not really meet that just 3 months to the general elections. And away from that, a guide to stem pregnancies in teens is unveiled. This was unveiled by the Ministry of Health just after data showed of how these numbers are rising up year in, year out, and they've now come up with a guide to see how best they could stem teen pregnancy. So when you get to the details, I'll be just giving you a detail of how this guide looks like and how the ministry is planning to stem the issue that is teen pregnancies. So that is also happening. The president unveiled the Kidney Liver Transplant Center. Again, good news for kidney patients, whereby this Center for Kidney Disease and Organ Transplant at the Kenyatta National Hospital is expected to at least provide a way in which the kidney patients could be tested and ultimately even just see how best they could get their livers and kidney transplant instead of having to travel in areas such as our countries such as South Africa or even India. And lastly, rising food prices, a recipe for unrest. This is as a report released by the UN agency now warns that high cost of living, which has actually been the trend over the past few months, they say that this could destabilize nations. So they've also given a detailed report in how this is going to destabilize nations, and Kenya is also amongst those nations that are set to be destabilized due to the high cost of living and obviously the high cost of food prices. Regina.
Indeed. I have a copy of the Standard and Matters of Politics continue taking center stage now with the MOU in Kenya Kwanza actually being made public. And that has created, or rather will create, a position for Prime Cabinet Secretary, and none other than ANC party leader Musalia Mudavadi is going to be occupying that particular seat exactly 2 weeks if Deputy President William Ruto ascends to power after the August 9th polls. It has detailed the functions of the Prime CS, one of them being assisting president and deputy in coordination and supervision of ministries and state departments, perform any other functions as may be assigned by the president, coordinate and supervise technical monitoring and evaluation of policies, programs and projects. Now, this particular deal being made public has caused jitters across the political divide, but closely looking at Kenya Kwanza and the other parties therein. Now, having created this lot, or rather this being given, or rather being taken up by ANC party leader there, Musalia Mudavadi, just 2 weeks after Ruto is sworn in, that is according to the deal, that will leave Ruto with at least 70% of government share for the rest of the country. And remember, there are also other vested interests there. And this is triggering jitters from other regions that are expecting to gain from the deals that they signed. Now, the 7-page coalition agreement signed by Ruto, Mudavadi, Moses Wetangula for Kenya, and the Secretary General of the three parties, with Tharaka Nithi Senator Professor Kithure Kindiki as Commissioner of Oaths. So what happens to the other parties, like Chama cha Kazi that is led by Moses Kuria, Devolution Party, as well as Maendeleo Party led by Embu Governor Martin Wambora? Indeed, the political scene is quite fluid and things are changing every now and then. We're going to be keeping tabs on that. Remember, we are waiting to hear as the IEBC deadline to name the deputy running mate draws near. We have under a week for that. Highly expectant to hear what the top running parties will pick in as far as their deputy president, or rather running mate, as per the runoff as we go to the election. Sorry. Now, talking about who is going to be taking up what position going forward, is that now it is clear that the gender rule is not going to be implemented, and this is after the court suspends the gender rule order. This is likely to affect the way politics is done. Remember, women were really waiting for this to actually be effected since the passing of the Constitution 2010. There's been a lot of push and pull to actually have this implemented in as far as governance is concerned. And also, there is conversation from the political parties registrar and Ruto, who has maintained that it is morally wrong to allow nomination losers to vie as independent candidates. Now, she, however, notes that it is the right of every Kenyan to seek an elective position. She says allowing losers to go it alone trivializes the purpose of outlawing party hopping in the first place. So matters of politics continue taking center stage in this particular daily, and there's an interesting case of human interest. We all know that land is an asset whose value keeps appreciating, and that's what we have had owing to infrastructural development, demand, rapid urbanization, but also in that particular situation, or rather sector, in as far as real estate and land ownership is concerned, there's a huge threat, and this is being conned out of your land. Now, there's an article here that has gone further to detail the tricks that those grabbers use to con landowners and take their property. There's a curious story here of British engineer Paul Curzon, who left Kenya in 2016 to take care of his ailing wife, and after he left, land grabbers pounced on his 2 parcels in Kileleshwa and Ngong Road and even evicted his workers. So on inquiry, he discovered that the land grabbers claimed that he had died in 2006. They faked a death certificate and prepared a sale agreement, purporting that he had sold them the land. So Corazon sued businessman Martin Muthama and Stephen Kiranki of invading his properties in Kileleshwa and Gong Road and putting them up under sale in the pretext that he had died. So he left in 2016, but some smart people decided that, you know, he's dead, and they pounced on his property. Now, this is a case that is still underway, actually, but this was actually averted, or rather, this was averted in favor of Curzon by the Environment and Land Court Judge Samson Okongo, who ensured that he got back the Kileleshwa property valued more than 200 million shillings. The judge ordered the land grabbers to vacate the premises and pay damages of 15 million shillings for trespassing. Muthama and Kiranki, who claimed in their defense to have purchased the suit property in 2005 and had the same transferred to them in April 2016, did not even place the agreement for sale and the instrument of transfer through which they had acquired the property. It is owing to this experience that, you know, the judicial system is now has increased the number of judges at the Environment and Land Court so that they can clear out this mess that is within the Ministry of Lands, especially when it comes to land ownership and such. You know, from faking land documents to collusion with officials at the Ministry of Lands, selling land to more than one person, trespassing, selling non-existent land, taking advantage of vulnerable people, and faking leases. These are stories that Kenyans, and reports that have been captured, some even in mainstream media, that this is what families and landowners are going through. I hope that this particular move to increase, the number of judges at the Environment and Land Courts is going to go, is a step in the right direction in correcting this, because otherwise families and individuals are suffering at the hands of land grabbers. And as far as sports news is concerned, that has also made it to the front page, is that questions are, so what next for CS Amina? They received she received a report by the FKF caretaker committee that was set up to try and unravel what is happening in as far as matters football is concerned. The report was already tabled. We expected to see its implementation made public, actually, and the implementation of the recommendations therein. Then also on matters business is that manufacturers are urging the government to be reviewing taxes at least every 2 years to afford them time to put their books in order and, you know, stabilize the prices to enable Kenyan products compete in a level playing field with other global brands. That is just but a sneak peek of stories that are captured the scribes this morning in this particular daily. Mike.
Yes, and on the Star, the headline is IEBC 6 law change on ballot box sealing. IEBC 6 law change on ballot box sealing. The IEBC wants approval to open boxes if presiding officers wrongly put in stray materials. Still on the front page of the Star is a photograph, as you can see, of President Uhuru Kenyatta commissioning the MAS Intimates Kenya factory, a Sri Lankan apparel and textile company that has employed over 3,000 Kenyans. The president pointed out that the expanding infrastructure, world-class human capital and economic policies have significantly improved Kenya's business index. Still on the front page of the Star, The Archbishop of Nyeri, Anthony Muheria, created a stir when he embraced an emotional man who claimed to be former President Mwai Kibaki's grandson during the Requiem Mass. The Catholic Archbishop said his reaction to the overwhelmed man at Nyayo Stadium was instinctive and a process of grace. I think that was, really nice, personally. Still on the front page of the Star, DP Ruto outlines plans to free security sector from cartels. It continues to read on page 7 that the Deputy President William Ruto has promised to overhaul the current Jubilee government procurement regime to ensure security-related tenders are not shrouded in secrecy. That was the front page of the Star. Jane?
Now, let me just quickly bring you back to the Daily Nation. Of course, as I mentioned, there's just 2 stories that were featured here on the front page. And the main read is in regards to the race towards the August 9th general elections, and more so in regards to the presidential race. Now, this is a research that was commissioned by this particular daily, but was, of course, done by Infotrack. It was done between the periods of May 8th through to the 9th across all the 47 counties, and they go on to just look at the top presidential candidates, that is Raila Odinga and Dr. William Ruto. And according to what was gathered from this particular daily, out of all the information that was gathered, 42% of the population is what these 2 presidential aspirants both command. Both of them command 42% of the popularity vote. Now, this further has been broken down into different figures. There's the 42 that has already accounted for the 2 presidential aspirants. Then 10% of voters were undecided as to whom is their favorite presidential aspirant, while another 5% refused to respond to the question. And there is another 15% that is undecided in regards to whom they would vote for. But further on, they went on to point out that neither of these 2 presidential aspirants, that is Deputy President William Ruto and Raila Odinga, have the mass to actually win these elections in the first round. And the likelihood of a runoff is very high. The probability is very high, not unless there is a major change in the political winds in the country. So for one of them to be able to win at least with the 50+1 vote. Now, they went on to just highlight a number of reasons as to what most Kenyans said why they side with Raila Odinga or why they side with Ruto. And some of the reasons that were given was, number 1, the candidate's experience in politics. Number 2, their track record. Number 3, their development agenda. And these 3 top their affiliation in terms of parties or coalitions. But further on, the 2 main aspects that really inclined voters to choose either of the 2 was, number 1, for Deputy President, the bottom-up economic model was the most appealing reasons to his supporters, and for Raila Odinga was the monthly 6,000 Kenya shilling stipend for poor families. And of course, they also pointed out that a huge percentage of the people that were interviewed, they are mostly they like these 2 top contenders basically because of their strong personalities, and they are very loyal. They are very loyal, and they would move with each of these candidates should they choose to switch parties or coalitions. Now, that was the first research that was commissioned, and the second one was in regards to why most Kenyans think our country is headed in the wrong direction. Nearly 2/3 of Kenyans think the country is headed in the wrong direction, and this translates to 7 in every 10 people saying the country is headed in the wrong direction. 18% say, we're on the right track. And here, they go on to list some of the reasons as to why they feel Kenya is going in the wrong direction. Top of it being poor governance as the main reason. Then we have bad politics, there is corruption, unemployment, poverty, insecurity, and crime as the reasons as to why Kenya is headed in the wrong direction. And there is another 2% who say that they do not know where the country is headed. That is just basically those two stories that were featured here on the front page of the Daily Nation. But before we get to continue with the other dailies, just to get to have a look at what other stories have been featured, we are going to take a very quick breather. We will be back to continue, so do stay with us.
Welcome back to the program. This is still Good Morning Kenya. We continue with the headlines, and to that story that also has made its way on the front page this morning on why the Noah Wekesa-led team, that is the 7-member committee that had been tasked to conduct interviews to come up with a suitable running mate for Raila Odinga, on why they postponed that. They were to announce that yesterday, but that didn't happen. So what is coming out is that to some extent, they disclosed some of the contents of that report, but they said they will first wait until they hand it over to Raila Odinga, that is the presidential flag bearer, before they get to announce who they felt was going to be a suitable candidate for the former premier. So the 3 names that came up were Martha Karua, Peter Kenneth, that is a former Gatanga MP, as well as Wiper boss Kalonzo Musyoka. And also what came out is some of those things that they were looking at before they actually even came up with these names. And key among them, even as they were picking, or even as they ended up picking these 3 candidates, what came out is that they were looking for, on matters of integrity, ability to mobilize votes, and character of the person to gel with the presidential candidate. So these are just some of the factors that they looked into as they went about picking the 3 that they settled on. And yes, like I mentioned, they will first hand the report to Raila Odinga before they get to announce who at the end of the day will carry as the running mate for Raila Odinga. So that is what is coming out there as it pertains to the Azimio One Kenya coalition running mate issue. And even as this was happening, Kenya Kwanza also went ahead to unveil how the power will be shared in that particular coalition, if at all they take government, that is after the August 9th general election. So what came out on the Kenya Kwanza side as it pertains to the sharing of power there is that they really didn't mention on the running mate who it will go to. But so far, what we know is that the ANC party will take the Prime Minister's position. And remember that that particular slot does not exist. So again, also what that ultimately means is that if Kenya Kwanza takes the day, it simply means that in the next 14 days, as they had mentioned, is that that position will be created. We also know that there's some other position that they mentioned, again, if at all they take power. So also for Kenya is supposed to take the National Assembly Speaker seat. Again, that is also if they take power. But then they didn't quite mention on which side the running mate will go to. So even as that was happening, Ruto promises free lunch in primary school if elected president. This he actually said yesterday. And the major reason as to why this came out is that he said that this will help increase the number of learners and improve their retention if at all they come up with a law in which they're going to ensure that public primary schools are going to have free lunch if at all they take office. And also we can look at this particular story. Remember that also this made its way on the dailies last week. This is after COMESA issued a statement on how bad this products might be, particularly to our human health. I'm talking about the Indomie. So even as this is happening, or if you made the noodles, so even as this is happening, Kenya is still selling these products despite the health concerns that were raised by COMESA. That was last week. And so they just have mentioned that they're still trying to finalize on the report which will be issued to the public as to why they are still have not done away with this product. So even as this is happening in our country, whereby the product is being sold, and even what is coming out is that some shopkeepers are still restocking this product amid that concern of aflatoxin. So even as this is happening, Rwanda has actually banned the consumption of this product. Jane.
We come to this particular lady. There's a very sad story here of a mother in Eldoret who actually is begging the courts to jail her son until she passes due to his abusive nature. And mind you, this boy is 33 years old. He was jailed for 2 years for physically assaulting his parents, to a point where his father actually absconds the home just to avoid the violence that this boy has been perpetrating on his parents. Man, Mike.
It's crazy.
Crazy.
It's very, very crazy. Today being Entertainment Thursday, I want to end it with a lighter note. Doreen and Jane.
What's up?
I want your thoughts on this one. Award-winning actress Catherine Kamau, aka Kate Actress, did a cosmetic gastric balloon procedure to lose weight. The cost of this surgery is around 300,000 shillings to 500,000 shillings within the country. So she goes on to say that she went to the gym for about 6 months. Nothing worked. I feel like she could, you know, go a bit longer instead of go. Okay, what do you guys think about this? Because I think these days, these cosmetic surgeries,
yes,
become too common.
Well, not that they've become too common. We've just seen, at least what I think, we have seen more personalities coming out about it, because once, and she's not the first one to just have a cosmetic procedure done. The first one that came out publicly was, is it Rispa Faith?
I think it was Vera Sidika.
Even, yes, Vera, there's been Huda, there's been Rispa, then there was Murugi, formerly known as Yummy Mami, and hers was the one that sort of set the whole cosmetic procedure conversation ablaze when she got a liposuction. So now we have Kate Actress. She got the gastric balloon.
Is it like the new makeup going under the knife?
It's, you know, guys have
I hear Doreen
issues.
laughing. So.
And for her, you know, by the way, I never judge anyone who decides to do whatever they want to do with their body. I mean, it's their individual journey. But, you know, they do command an audience. And people are like, kama alifanya hiyo. I mean, and the one that she actually did was the swallowable gastric balloon, and that cost 500,000.
Wow.
The one for 300,000 is where they have to put you under, not under particularly, they just numb your mouth. If you have had an endoscopy done, if you've had an endoscopy done, you would understand that other one. Doreen.
Let me just pick it up on that note before we actually finish this segment. You wouldn't judge anyone. And actually, I think that the one which also went viral, as you've mentioned, Jane, is the Yummy Mami one, the liposuction on her midsection.
Yes.
Yeah. Costed her, was it over 500,000 Kenyan shillings?
600,000 plus.
Yeah, and she had also, you know, tried gymming a bit here and there, and it wasn't working. So I think at the end of the day, choose what works for you. If gym works for you, cool. If procedures works for you, cool.
Kama uko na pesa,
why not?
Tumia.
Well, acha nisingilie hiyo sana.
Maneno sasa.
To each their own.
And last but not least, Tanzanian singer Mbosso anasema is very, 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 very happy to date 4 women. However, 20 ndio wanamfaa. Now, mind you, just a quick backstory on Harmonize. Actually, on Mbosso, he has 3 baby mamas, 3 different children, 3 baby mamas. But he says, adding a bit, you know, 20 more is in mind. Jane, what do you think?
Bro.
To each their own.
What do you
H. pylori is real.
Let me just...
At 15 to 20. And you know, I actually read the story, and he was saying as a Muslim, he's permitted up to 4 wives. But angependa ideally 15 to 20.
He has a lot of time on his hands. That's what I think.
Doreen, tufunge ika maneno.
Let me just finish by saying, to each their own.
Bas.
If it best suits you, why not? And on that note, we are done with the headlines. But being Entertainment Thursday, we have a lot in store for you. Stay tuned. After this break, we'll return with more of Good Morning Kenya.